Everyone's always looking for something extra special to put on the table during the holidays, and for me, it is beef tenderloin. I'm gonna show you everything you need to know to make the best beef tenderloin and 3 ways to serve it up. Let's go. I think the biggest hesitation when it comes to cooking beef tenderloin is the price. However, to save a lot of money, you need to buy the whole tenderloin. You can get so much more than just your holiday dinner from one beef tenderloin for way less money. And let me tell you, I am no butcher, but I can do this, therefore you can too. This is the way to go, y'all. So I picked this up at Costco because that's where you get the best prices for this, hands down. I, of course, picked up the whole untrimmed beef tenderloin. They do have a trimmed version, but it was $6 per pound more expensive. So for the same price, you can get this size or we can get this size. So I'm gonna show you how to break it down. It's really easy. Just gotta get past, the little bloody juices. That is known as purge. You don't really wanna rinse that off. That's just a natural thing that happens. So I just like to not really look at it and just be like, there it goes. And then you just really want to dry it off in order to get the best sear and flavor. First thing I'm going to pull off is what's known as the chain. It has a natural separation that you can just kind of pull off with your hands. It might be connected in some spots, in which case you can just kind of use your knife to help it along. We are going to make use of this. The other part right here, this is known as the head, and we're going to take that off too. It also will kind of pull away, also usable. You will get your one special holiday meal, but then you'll also get several other dinners. So your future self is really gonna thank you for buying this. Okay, so I have trimmed off just with my hands pretty much all I can. And now we bring out the knife because this is the part we mainly want to remove. This is called the silver skin. This is not fat, this is a really tough tissue. So you wanna take your knife just under it and keep your knife facing upward. And then once you kind of get it going, go the other direction, keeping your knife upward so that you don't take off unnecessary meat. Now this is discard. This is what I'm gonna call our scraps and our fat, what we can render down and make beef fat or beef tallow, and you can cook, other foods in it for like super delicious flavor other than just cooking it in regular oil. And you can also give, some of that to your dog for some dog treats. So we have the head, the chain, the scraps, and now we're left with our beef tenderloin. Now, this is where you have to make some decisions. If you're serving a lot of people, you might want to serve this whole thing, in which case you're gonna want to fold the tail end under, and then you can tie it up. When this side is so much thinner than the center, that's just not gonna cook evenly. This is gonna be beef jerky by the time this is done. Today, I'm going to show just roasting the center portion, known as the Chateaubriand, and that's what we're gonna break out for the holidays, okay? So you're going to cut off the end, just where it starts to get really small, and we'll save that. You'll feel it start to go down like that, and that's where you'll cut it. So that's good enough, right?
Beautiful.
Okay.
Chateaubriand.
So this is what we are going to make for our holiday dinner. But before I get to that, we're gonna take the head, I'm gonna cut off, the fatty parts. We're gonna save that to render down. Surprisingly, this freezes pretty well, especially like the steaks after you cut them into steaks. So I'm gonna try to get a couple fillets out of here, just like petite fillets. And then when you flip them over, you kind of just shape them into fillets. Then you've just got these really skinny ends, and those can also be for your stir fry or your beef stroganoff. Look at that. We have our fatty rendered down dog treat area, 6 fillets. We have enough meat for another dinner, and then we have our holiday dinner. You could have just gotten this, maybe slightly bigger, for the same price as I got all of this. You saw it really wasn't that hard. A lot of times if I'm just cooking this, not trying to be super impressive, I don't tie it up. I just sear it just like this and just, go for it. The only thing that happens when you don't tie it up is that it cooks kind of like this shape, where it's like more ovalized. But if you tie it, it's gonna get, nice and round. We're gonna do it the easy way, not the butcher way. Take your piece of twine, squeeze it kind of tight, and then just make a double knot. Okay, and we're just gonna go down the tenderloin and keep doing it. And then I like to take one more piece and just go around the long way. And I like to just come under. There. Okay, we have our trussed meat. Nice coating of salt on the outside. This is what's gonna help develop that beautiful crust. You could pop this in the fridge for like all day. You could do this in the morning and then just keep it in the fridge. That's gonna kind of dry that surface off and help it to get really brown, but also it's fine just to go straight into the pan. I am just gonna keep this in the fridge just to kind of dry out. That way when my meat's done, the sauces are ready to go. I'm starting with probably my favorite sauce of the day, which is Cowboy Butter. I just wanted another excuse to make this. I made this a couple months ago and it was amazing. And it went viral. So this is basically just a compound butter with like the most flavor you've ever had in a butter on top of steak or filet mignon in our case. Beef tenderloin. What I like about choosing this as your sauce is that it can totally be made ahead of time. You know, it's gonna blow people's minds. You may wanna make some extra so that you can dip your crusty bread in it too. Starts with a stick of softened butter. To that, I'm just adding in some minced garlic, a tablespoon of parsley, a tablespoon of chives, and only about a half a teaspoon of fresh thyme. If you're thinking that butter can't count as a sauce, I'll tell you you're wrong, especially when it's this kind of butter. Okay, 2 teaspoons of Dijon, a little bit of lemon zest and lemon juice. This mixed with these like really rich, like warm spices, it's just so good. Half a teaspoon of the juice. This is, to me, what makes it cowboy, is that you're going in with smoked paprika, some chili powder, and some crushed red pepper, so you have that like really smokiness that you think of when you think of cowboys. I use salted butter, so I'm going in a little less on the salt here. If color equals flavor, this is about to be the most flavorful butter you've ever seen. I mean, it screams holiday to me anyway. So then you're going to want to roll it up into a log. That way you can make easy slices and just put it straight over your hot beef tenderloin when it comes out. So you can use wax paper or parchment paper, create a log. Keep that in the fridge. Sauce number 1 is done. The next sauce is also no cook, but it is probably the most popular accompaniment to the beef tenderloin. Just the classic creamy horseradish sauce. And this is great because if you want to serve your beef tenderloin at room temperature and make little sandwiches with it, get you some rolls, some horseradish sauce, and make the best sandwich ever. All right, so the base for this is a mixture of mayonnaise and sour cream, a little more sour cream than mayonnaise, because you want that good like tanginess. About 3 tablespoons mayonnaise. And then you get 2 tablespoons of prepared horseradish. That opens you up. A little bit of cider vinegar, a little bit of dried mustard, and then a dash of cayenne pepper. Okay, and then just give that a mix. And I'm gonna add in one more non-recipe ingredient. I like to add a little Worcestershire in mine. I just love the flavor with beef. Here's your horseradish sauce. I can go for a little more bite and then a little bit of salt and pepper. I tried to follow the recipe, but those are my additions, okay? Yes, sir. Now our next one, we are gonna cook. This is the sauce you make for your classic sit-down fancy holiday dinner. This is a classic mushroom sauce. It's so easy, it's so rich, full of flavor, and the perfect accompaniment to that beef tenderloin. Start with a half a stick of butter. Once that melts, you're gonna add in 2 cups of sliced mushrooms. The goal for this first step is to develop color on the mushrooms, because that's gonna give them the best, richest flavor. All right, now that we've gotten color on there, I'm gonna go in with a little more butter and some shallots. Okay, now I'm adding in some more mushrooms. These are chopped. That's just gonna give it a different texture, just kind of add to the heartiness of the sauce. The next step is to deglaze with some red wine. And well, look at there. This just happened to be sitting right here. Anyway, use your spoon to get all those little brown bits from the bottom of the skillet. I'm also gonna add in a bay leaf and some thyme. Just gonna let that reduce a little bit, let some of that alcohol cook out. All right, now that that has evaporated out, I'm going in with some beef stock. So I kept some of the cold or room temperature beef stock in here. We're gonna dissolve some cornstarch in there. You could also use arrowroot, but it dissolves better in cold or room temperature liquid. And this is gonna be our thickener for the sauce. Whisk that until it's smooth, and we'll add that into the simmering sauce. And right when you add it in, you'll notice that it starts to thicken up as the sauce simmers. Then you're just gonna season it up with a little bit of salt and pepper. And then because I can't help myself, and whenever I make mushrooms, I also put in a little Worcestershire. And that sauce is done. I mean, 3 sauces in no time. Now you can pick how you wanna serve your beef tenderloin. That's the one my dad would like. All right, speaking of beef tenderloin, let's get it out. Let's take some of the chill off and sear it up. This process could not be easier. Get yourself a skillet and get it really hot. See how it's kind of smoking right there? We are not trying to cook the inside. We are just trying to get some color on our outside. So I'm going in with some olive oil, and then in goes our beef tenderloin. What's the formula? Color equals flavor, and fat equals flavor also. All right, we've developed a great flavorful crust. Normally, I would just take this pan and stick it straight in the oven. If you want a little more control over your cook time, you can just move it to another pan and then pop it into the oven. I'm going 325 degrees. You could also do a really hot and faster way, but again, just to have a little more control over the whole thing, I'm gonna go into a lower oven. The whole thing is still not gonna take long. Smartest thing to do is to insert a probe thermometer. That way you know when you're at the right temperature. I like to eat it at around 135. I'm more of like a medium kind of girl. So I'm gonna pull it at 125, 130, because it'll continue to cook. If you just wanted to keep it in the skillet and do it, then I would keep the oven at a really high temperature. That way it just keeps cooking evenly fast. All right, check that out. This has been 40 to 45 minutes. I'm gonna leave the thermometer in as to not let all the juices out. Now that is a perfect beef tenderloin. That's your perfect beef tenderloin with the perfect medium rare center. I tend to prefer mine a little more done than that. So when you flip it around and slice from the other end, you're gonna get more of those cooked pieces that I happen to prefer. So that's more the way I like it. You're not gonna get a lot of this. You're gonna get more of the medium rare. You can cook that. I mean, it was salt and pepper. There's nothing to this, and it still delivers the most delicious flavor. It melts in your mouth. Somebody else needs to taste it.
It's so tender.
It's so tender. Now, as promised, 3 ways to serve it up. First up, the Cowboy Butter. You may want to bring your butter out to room temperature before you do this. That way it melts like right over. If you put it straight cold, it might not melt quite as well. But as it sits on that meat, it gets all juicy. Y'all, this is like one of the best things ever. Just plate everybody's up, serve some butter on the side. Oh my God. That garlic and that lemon. You could even melt it down and then just drizzle it over your meat. Y'all, that is like, I wish you could taste it. Okay, and then we have our classic, this is your party way to serve your beef tenderloin with your old classic horseradish sauce. Put some rolls on the side. It's also so good. Those were 2 completely different experiences with the same beef tenderloin. That's what's so cool about this. And don't forget our mushroom sauce. This is your fancy dinner right here. See how like that cuts like butter? Oh my God. That's like something really special to serve your guests. That gave you the restaurant experience in that sauce, but you saw how easy it was to make. I mean, it was nothing. It was mushrooms, butter. It's all just in the preparation. If you've never made a beef tenderloin, I hope you will take some of these tips and use them. It's really hard to mess this up. And go for the whole tenderloin, get the most bang for your buck, use up the 3 sauces, make yourself 3 or 4 dinners, and thank me later.